think we're getting ready to start up here, everybody. So, good morning, West Valley. Welcome out on this wonderful sunny Sunday we got going, and we're going to get this song started with "This Is the Day." So, if you'd like to rise and join in, we'd be grateful. And so, here we go.
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goings. I'm the assistant minister here, and I want to welcome you here on this beautiful spring Sunday morning. So I think we're going to start getting some warmer weather, which I'm really excited about, but it is definitely a beautiful morning this morning. We had a really wonderful time. I'm sure Reverend Karen's going to talk about it yesterday with our community retreat. It was really satisfying, community building. It was just a really, really wonderful time, and we had good food too. So it was just perfect all the way around. So thank you to everybody that participated. And then one last. I have. Do we have an announcement? Yes, we do. We have an announcement. Hold, please.
Hopefully. You think I can't talk about something? If there's anybody who knows how to talk, me. All right. So this is the announcement is for the ladies of the center. We are doing something that for me is really, really exciting. If you can imagine being on a mountaintop and all of the opportunity to have the flames of who you are as a goddess show up, please join us in Flagstaff. It is February 5th through the 7th. February. See? Maybe if I could read, it'd be better. May 5th through 7th in Flagstaff, and the theme is Connecting with Joy and Love. We have 2 full days planned. It will have fun exercises, time for relaxation, time for time out in nature on your own. It's soul work. We are really just excited to be able to do this with the ladies of the congregation. So the details are out on home space along with registration forms, and there are a set number of spaces that are available, so please register early. It's going to be a great time, and I know you will love it, so please join us.
All right, thank you, Sue. So one thing I'd like to say about the women's retreat, we've had a men's retreat as well, is that this is really a gift for you, right? So to check out of your busyness of your life and just get together with a bunch of beautiful women and just be you and just be supported and loved that whole weekend. So hopefully you'll join them in this beautiful retreat. And they've been working really hard to get it ready, so I'm sure it'll be fantastic. All right, and then so one last announcement is that April the 30th is the day that we're looking for people to stay with us after service on April the 30th, because we're going to be moving all of the chairs and everything out of here, because that week they're putting in the new carpet. Yeah, so anybody, if you're here, please join us after service on Sunday to move everything out. And then if you're available on that following Saturday to help us put it back together, that would be fantastic. So I'll remind you about it every week, believe me. So anyways, but we're looking for volunteers. So, all right. So before we have the Bradfords sing their beautiful music, I just want us to just sit back and relax. Remember that we come together every Sunday to remember our truth, that we're whole, perfect, and complete just the way we are. So just simply open up your hearts and your minds for the Bradfords' beautiful music and Reverend Karen's message. Thank you.
So take a deep breath as we go within.
I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
And here in this quiet place, this place where we come together to honor the truth of who we are, to allow the presence of the divine to shine more brightly than we have ever experienced before. For here in this moment, there is peace and joy, love, happiness, harmony, health, wealth, abundance, clarity, kindness, compassion, and more. It is that place where the divine dwells in each of us. It is unshakable, unbreakable, unstoppable. And in this moment, we open to that exquisite wisdom, knowing that as Reverend Karen speaks, that divine wisdom moves to her and through her and touches that wisdom in each of us. That Bradford's music lifts us and opens our hearts. That every person here knows the truth of who they are simply because they took the time to open, to listen, to be willing, to be ready. So I give thanks for everyone here today, knowing that as this day unfolds, it does so with a sense of beauty and joy, happiness, love, and harmony. So I release this day out into that exquisite, perfect idea in the mind of the divine, knowing that it is already done, and so it is. My reading today is from In the Flow of Life by Eric Butterworth, one of my favorite books of all times. Humankind has instinctively sensed a dimension of life in which there flows like an underground stream a directive force that is forever correspondent with every conscious need. Emerson talks of this when he says, "There is a guidance for each of us, and by lowly listening, we shall hear the right word. Why need you choose painfully? Certainly there is a possible right for you that precludes the need of willful election. For you there is a reality, a fit place, a place in the middle of the stream of power and wisdom which animates all who float in it. And you are, without effort, impelled to truth, to right, and to perfect contentment. The only decision you have to make is the decision to begin. Life is whole and complete, and even when you may be seeing it in part, there is always a right answer in that stream of power and wisdom within. It is that in you that knows beyond your conscious knowing. Remember, when you plug into the power source or turn on the light switch, there is no delay in the flow. Be still and know that you are in the flow, and then move with it." So allow yourself a moment to feel that flow, to know that you are indeed moving with it. So it is.
This song we picked because it's springtime, and I love to start spring off with this song. Also remember that that inner light is within you, and let it shine. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Sing with me. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Little darling, the smiles returning to their faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Little darling, I feel that ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, sun, sun. Sun, 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 here it comes. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Bradfords. That was really lovely. Rod, you did it again. You ruined me for a minute because
The
guess
sun is out.
I know, but guess who used to play that song and sing to me? So thanks for singing to me. Thanks for playing that song. Good morning, everyone. Look how pretty you look with the lights on. Good to see you. I am Reverend Karen Rice here to welcome you to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living, and we did have an occasion yesterday. We had a beautiful, large group of happy souls that came together to get reconnected and bond. Many of us were getting to know each other for the first time. We had longtime people and some fairly new people all breaking bread together and participating in all kinds of fun things. And so this morning I want to talk about what happens when we do that. The title of my message this morning is The Secret to Spiritual Power. Would you like to know what the secret to spiritual power is? Yeah. Well, I have some magic in my bag. Do you know what this is? It's a doot-de-doot. It's a doot-de-doot. It's a doot-de-doot. I thought you were almost singing about it this morning when you went doo-doo-doo-doo, right? It's a doot-de-doot because in my house, raising 4 children, and these are rare finds because they don't last long and the kids love to play with them, it was used like this. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. A doot-de-doo. The kids called it a doot-de-doo because I guess probably Hugh always picked it up and went doo-doo-doo-doo. So we used this to make bold announcements in our house. You know, we had 4 kids. You want to make an important announcement, you got to get everybody's attention, so we used our doot-de-doo. By the way, there's a smaller version of it. You're familiar with it, right? Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. It's not as fun. But they do other things too. You know they do other things, right? Isn't your imagination just now going? Don't you want to just like, look, if you do this, oh my gosh, it's a telescope. I can see you really, really well through here. Why do you get bigger when I look through this little doot-de-doot? What else does this do? Somebody think of something. What? Exactly. It's a drumstick in my house because it was rare to get 2. But if you did get 2 at the same time, you would go around and beat on anything. Did any of you other people have drummers in your home, children that wanted to be? And they would beat on anything. They're so good. They make noise. You can beat on anything, even your brothers and sisters. And they did. Of course, they did. And then one of them would hit too hard and break it, and the others would cry because they didn't have their turn. It was messy, right? What else? Anybody else? Can you think of 1 or 2 more things? A wand. We could make it into a wand. We could go on and on and on, but I have a message to deliver. And so what I want to say is, do you know what we just did? It's a pointer, too, apparently. You know what we just did? We unveiled the secret to spiritual power. Because the spiritual power, the secret, is the power that we put into it. And anything we name, we have given power to. So we are always giving power to our own lives by the way we're telling the story of our life, by the way we're naming the things that unfold, the way we describe the people we've had encounters with. And the bottom line is that spiritual power is something that we all have. It's that truth of our being. It is the way in which we are alive with that God stuff within us. We are absolutely saturated with divinity. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of this teaching, said it quite simply: spiritual power is an interior awareness. Think of the way a kid can pick up a paper towel holder, or a funny husband can pick up, or a dirty sock or anything, and start making something out of it. We have this power to create, and the only thing that's secretive about it is that we aren't always so confident that we can use it. It almost feels like it's a magical power, it's miraculous. Jesus performed miracles. And yet we all have that something special about us. And the way to tap into it only happens, our awareness of it, and when Holmes describes it as an interior awareness, the only way to really get there is to sit still for a little while. See, when we're busy in our lives, and let's face it, we're all busy, and we're busy a lot. When we're all busy, there are things that we miss, or things that we just take for granted. I love it when I happen to get up early enough to see the sunrise, and it surprises me. It's like I get up to take the dog out, and there's just enough light in the sky, and the clouds are just so. And I love to be where it sort of takes your breath away, because you see you're overcome with the beauty of it. And the reason you can be surprised and overcome with the beauty of it is because something in you is stimulated by that miraculousness. So we say, be still and know. That was such a good reading. That was a really good choice for a reading, Sue. Be still and know, because it's when we sit still that power is sort of revealed to us. We can sense it when we're quiet. When we're busy, we don't notice it. When we get frightened, we have reactions. When life scares us in any way, we get busy protecting and defending ourselves in that sort of primal way. But when we're still, we can get back to that balance. We can find our center again and remember that our safety truly lies in our defenselessness. When we put down any weapons of attack, when we rest peacefully in that space of not needing to separate ourselves from each other so that we can feel safer. So when we tap into that incredible power, whether it's on purpose, intentional, or accidental, when we tap into it, what happens is something stirs inside of us. And we notice that there's something in us that does desire to have that higher perspective of life, to be able to see the way that we're all joined in and connected. So our spiritual power bumping into that way we uncover it or remember it, it charges us up to be able to do everything that is ours to do. Yesterday we talked about uncovering our personal gifts. We did exercises that helped us get really clear on what's the best of us and how do we now bring that forward. So we don't have to know all the answers to all the problems. We don't have to solve all the dilemmas in the world or even in our own life. But when we bump into that interior awareness, as Holmes says, and we recognize that, we then again are sort of revived to be able to point ourselves in the direction of tapping into that higher power, that inner good, that in us which desires to have expression as beauty and peace and love and joy in our experience of living. Along with you, with many of you, I'm doing the 40-day adventure through the Lenten season. And by the way, we will be done this Friday. It's amazing. We have gone through the 40 days already. And there was a quote, I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, but there was a quote we had an emphasis on in that journey from Emma Curtis Hopkins, where she said, "Firmness to any principle will expose a power." Firmness, standing fast in that truth. Firmness to any principle will expose, it will reveal a power that you might otherwise not notice. And so, that makes me think, when I read that, I was thinking, because I always do a little writing, along with it. And I realized how blessed I feel that my job is ministry, because my dedication is to stay loyal to principle. And when I stand in that principle, I am now standing in a power, and I become easily aware that that power is greater than I am, and that I can make a do all kinds of things, because I am co-creator of my own life, and so are you. So principle is a good thing. See, at principle, the laws, the physical laws on of the universe and on this planet, like gravity, they don't change. They work, and they have to work all the time. And so what we see in studying the physical laws of the universe is that the very same thing is true of the spiritual laws of the universe. They do not change. The world changes. Our life changes. Our relationships change. In a 50-year marriage, I was married to 50 different men, probably, right? You know, and he had a different wife many times. So we grow and we change and we evolve and we bump into each other. That's the purpose of relationship, so that we can smooth out those rough edges and learn new ways, because we're never too old to learn. You know, it's never too late to take on something new. So relationship helps us refine those things. But everything in the world is always changing. Because of that, because of the changeability of everything in the physical world, what we know is a lot of people are wording it this way, and I like this a lot, that we are living on an evolutionary front. You know what that means? Yes, the cutting, it's like our edge of growth. It's an evolutionary front, but it seems so relevant to me in the way that I'm often speaking of such things, that we're on that, what did you say, the cutting edge? Yes, so it's like new things are always emerging, and that's where we live. That's where each and every one of us lives. And it's not because the world is such a mess. I mean, it's more obvious because the world is messy. But all birth is messy. And so as we recognize that we're living on this evolutionary front, what we see is the place that the mystics talked about all convergence, all cohesion, the way things come together happen in the realm of space and time. In the space we created yesterday for the retreat, there was a time, an allotted time, that we cut out to spend our day together in that room, in this social hall, in Papke Hall, and we broke bread together, and we did exercises together. We did this exercise that was so great, that where you meet everybody in the room and you find out something that you have in common, something that's same about you, as well as one thing that's different about you. And that stirred so many interesting conversations. It was so fun to be in the mix of that activity, where we're exploring all the ways that we connect and all the ways that we don't know each other yet. And that should be exciting for us. Differences should be stimulating, not isolating. And I believe that's the evolutionary front that we're living on the edge of. We're encouraged in so many ways now to understand broader and greater possibilities than we ever have in the past. So we are drawn together because of our humanity. We're drawn together in spiritual community because our beliefs kind of, we bump into each other in similarities, but we're not exactly all alike, because each and every one of us is unique, and we're individualized expressions of the divine. I love that statement that Holmes used. So we spoke yesterday. One of the theme quotes for me in preparing the retreat was this quote I found from Mark Nepo. And we were looking for a way for us to sort of post-pandemic, all the new faces that have come, and then the people that we hadn't seen in a few years, and now they're coming back to church again. How do we pull these people together? And I happened to stumble on this beautiful quote from Mark Nepo. And by the way, this quote was I found this quote. I read Mark Nepo. I have many. I have 8, I think. I counted 8 Mark. I'm looking at Sue because she gifted me with my very first Mark Nepo book, and then I got hooked. This quote from Mark Nepo actually came from the Science of Mind magazine in 2018. It was a great article on community. And what he said was that community is always changing. There's an impermanence to community. And what we know, I mean, they teach in seminary that your congregation is constantly changing. And so at all times, you have a 30% turnover of people that are coming and going and passing on or moving out of town. And so Nepo said this: we must accept the transient nature of the communities we create, whether it's spiritual or otherwise. Just in the same way that pollen gathers and disperses, in the same way that an ocean inlet will form and then wash away again. Instances of meaningful connection will not last. Eventually, they all disperse. And it's not because something went wrong. It's because all forms are impermanent and they run their cycle. This goal is not to make moments of true community last forever. We're not trying to keep us all kind of like family. You can't even do it with our families. But to inhabit the moments as fully as possible for as long as we can, to really be here when we're here, to be here together, inhabit those moments, and then we carry their legacy, no matter what happens after that. You know, we learned yesterday at the retreat that 2 of our beloved, longtime community members are moving away out of state. Carol Young and Nancy Noel will be moving in May. I believe you're both leaving in May. I can't even imagine not being here. Nancy Noel was the head of the committee that hired me. You know, it was the candidating committee. It's Nancy is the first person I ever spoke to in terms of communicating. And then it was Cheryl was the next person that I spoke to in arranging what would happen that weekend when I came on Mother's Day so long ago to candidate. So how do we do that? How do we let beloved members, how do we do that? We don't do that very well because we will miss each other. And yet, what we know is that what Carol Young, who, by the way, has worked in the thrift store for many years, and Nancy Noel has had her hands all over just about everything there is to do here, beautifully was honored as Volunteer of the Year, and maybe even the first one on our plaque. Is that right? Not on my watch, but were you? Wait, she's looking at him. Did you serve as board president, Nancy, for a while? I did, yeah, before you came. So, Nancy's done business. She's done pleasure. She's done kitchen. She's done. She started the Projects of Love committee. Was the first committee we pulled together. What do we do? Well, you know what? She's leaving her legacy here. And those things all go on. Those things will continue. She was looking around in the bookstore just this morning. I saw you looking around in the bookstore. She ran the bookstore for many years too. Right? So she leaves us her commitment and her love. Carol leaves us her gift of service and her love. And they also are taking with them the love that they have generated and accumulated in their years of being a part of this community. And that's the way life works. Reverend Clyde, could you help me with a demonstration, please? Yesterday, Reverend Clyde had this gorgeous introductory demonstration of that got us started and opened us for everything else that was about to unhappen. Sorry, I'm really distracted by by this. This is why I couldn't do this and this at the same time. I already knew I couldn't do that. No, I'm going to tell you what they have here. It says Clyde asked each person to come up to the front of the thing we were creating. We made an altar, and everybody picked a picture and said why that picture represented in themselves. We also asked everyone. There were 24 people there in the morning and 26 people. A couple more joined us for the afternoon. And of those 26 people, we asked, how many years have you been studying the science of mind? How long have you been connected to the teaching? And how long have you been a part of the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living? And so I wrote down the totals, and then I snuck in here and ran a tape on it really quick on my calculator. And we made a yarn representation for every year of somebody connected to this center. We have the blue yarn. And to the teaching is the blue yarn, and to the center, West Valley Center, is the yellow yarn. An inch represents a year. And now if you would take those back so we can see how many years we have of people belonging to the center and the teaching. So Julie has your relationship of only the 26 people that were here yesterday, and that is 243 years total. And Reverend Clyde is holding the blue yarn, which is 503 years total of just the people that were here at the retreat yesterday. That's a lot of legacy. That's a lot of commitment. That's a lot of opportunity for cohesive gathering and connecting. That's a lot of love. That's a lot of prayer. That's a lot of wisdom. Those are a lot of meals that we shared together or with others, because remember, we're just a smidgeling of what we represent when we look at the center. You know, one of the things that I found as I was preparing for the retreat is that when they moved into this building in the late 80s or the early 90s, when they first moved into this building that was a gymnasium. Yes, that's right. It was a gymnasium. I have pictures. I don't know what I'm saving them for. Maybe the 50th anniversary, because we're getting close to that. But there were mirrors all over this place. And they were in this building for 3 years, and the mortgage was $6,500 a month was the mortgage they were paying on this building. They had been here for 3 years, and they called a meeting and said, we don't know how much longer we can do this. How do you come up with $6,500 every month? And so 24 individuals stepped forward with promissory notes, interest-free promissory notes, and they pooled together $126,000. I think it was $126,000, and they put it to the mortgage, and it dropped the mortgage payment to $3,000 a month. And that was can you imagine what a great help that was? But then, when it came time for those notes to be due, they started another campaign, and they paid off in full. They repaid the promissory notes, although some people said, no, please, just use the money toward the paying, just have it. And they paid off a $600,000 mortgage in just a few years. Wow. That is the legacy we stand on. And the reason that happens is because there's a secret to spiritual power that's just always in action. It's always working. Holmes, in the chapter in the Science of Mind textbook, the chapter on the principles for successful living, Holmes was talking about the way that the law just naturally works. He says, we do not have to make the law work. We think we do sometimes, but the law is always working. we can align ourselves to the principles and use them in a positive way, and that's the way we co-create with our life. But we do not make the law work. It is its nature to work. And therefore, in gladness, we should make known our desires and know that the perfect law desires to manifest through us. People often say, Holmes is telling us what people came up to him and we'd have conversations with him about. He says, people often say, I don't really know how to do this. I don't know how to align myself to that secret power of the universe and to manifest that good in my life. And Holmes would speak then about this guidance. He says, we have to realize that you may not think you know, but there is an intelligence in you that does know. And this guidance, he says, is just as true in India as it is in America. This guidance, he says, is just as true for the Buddhists as it is for the Christians. There's no variation in any way. It is just as true 10,000 years ago, before the advent of Christianity, as it will be 10,000 years from now. That sounds like a song. I will walk 100. That song just popped in my head. It's so sad I hear things in my head like that. Okay, and so it'll be just as true 10,000 years from now. Then he goes on to say, because of this, because we are using universal laws that run through every age, through every race, and laws that answer every person, we can see this, and we shall be able to do away with superstition and ignorance. That's what we're here for. We're not victims to the superstitious little things that happen. I still, because I was a fundamental Christian for so long, I still get freaked out when I see the number 666. And then I have to go, oh, wait. We were at a Bible convention once, and somebody hired an airplane to do the riding in the sky, and you could hear the whole crowd at Dodger Stadium go, oh. I remember that well. So, the idea is that ministers and spiritual leaders in every faith, we don't know the secret. I mean, we can tell you to, be still and know, and you've got the power, the force is in you. But the bottom line is, we each have to sort of experiment with it and uncover it in our own way. What ministers and spiritual leaders do is they point in that direction. And sometimes we get confused. While a leader is pointing, we get confused, and the leader might be pointing to the moon, but we see, you know how they say that? Well, you see the hand and you think the leader is the way. And what we're saying here is that the power is in you. And the minister can remind you, and that's why we gather together and we take classes, and that's why this teaching is based on education, because we know that repetitive way we go back again and again to look at the way principle works is what keeps us focused. There's a scriptural passage in 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, that says ministers are stewards of the mysteries of God. Right? I don't know the answers any better than you do, but I know how to stand on principle, right? And I know how to encourage you to do the same. And I know what inspires me. And I desire to encourage you to find what inspires you in your own path. I love that. Ministers are stewards of the mysteries of God. Well, for the heck of it, I looked up to see what Eugene Peterson would say if he paraphrased that particular verse of the Bible, and he said this tickles me. Ministers, he says, we are guides into God's most sublime secrets, but we are not guards protecting those secrets. Isn't that good? Right? So there are no secrets. The greatest thinkers that have ever lived. I include Dr. Holmes in that, Emma Curtis Hopkins, Thomas Troward, Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, Father Richard Rohr and Mark Nepo, and even my beloved husband, Hugh S. Rice, the poet. You know, these great thinkers, along with us, many of us have those moments where we understand that we too are great thinkers, but these people that recorded their work and left it for us to read and to reread, they used those terms like coherence and cohesion and convergence, and they understood about the value of staying connected. They knew the secret, and the secret for those great thinkers was always just riding the wave and knowing there will come another wave. Because that's how life is. And that's the secret of spiritual power viewed through a slightly different lens. Richard Rohr, Franciscan priest, says, current today, when things come together in spiritual community, when things come together, when 26 people gather in the social hall in spiritual community, when a group of us gather on Sundays in the sanctuary, when things come together in spiritual community, there is an outpouring of the Holy Spirit, right? Where two or more gather, there too is the presence of God. Our like minds then call forward more of that likeness, and then something happens in us where we're able to recognize it better and more clearly in each other. When we are in that zone, we really begin to see a different perspective, because we understand that we are living in one coherent world. That when we come together and then there is an outpouring of the Holy Spirit, then we have created some unitive force of love when time and space and individual souls meet together for that holy purpose. Teilhard de Chardin said, only the forces of love will overcome our divisions. Only the forces of love will overcome our fear of each other and our politics of hate and persecution. He passed in the 1960s. He hasn't seen what's going on in the world now, but he saw what happened in the world just as Ernest Holmes saw, just as all those other great thinkers saw and intuited the presence of God and the secret of spiritual power. One day, I was leaving the hospital, and it was a Saturday, and I said to my husband, who was quite ill at the time, I said, okay, I'm going to go home and finish my talk now. What do you want me to tell the people tomorrow? And he said this, tell them to love each other effusively. And so I like to share that from time to time. Love one another. That's all we really have. And so I want to close this morning with one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Ernest Holmes. You've heard me say it before. I think I want it on the wall over there. If we would look for a God of love, we must look long and deeply into each other. We must look away from our differences until we penetrate the unity of the whole, for love alone reveals love. That's what I wanted to say today. So just take a breath. Take a holy breath and feel life moving through you right now. For what we sense in the stillness is a divine activity within us. So in this moment, as we hunker down into that secret place of the Most High. We can feel the love of God in this very room, and we can sense the activity of life at the center of our being. For right here, right now, I feel that love of God, and I know it is the inspiration of life that is wooing us. It is a divine call that we might rise and touch the hem of the garment as we walk through this Holy Week before we celebrate the risen Christ consciousness. I feel the love of God, and I know it is that divine illumination that has called us together as a spiritual community and has nurtured us. I know that it is the love of those who started the legacy of allowing us the privilege of having a spiritual center in the west side of Phoenix, Arizona. I realize that those who came before us loved us so much, and they stood in principle. They held the space for our arrival in the same way that we are creating a space for the future. And so as the world yearns for peace of mind, for upliftment, for an experience of connection, we do our part. We call forward our own gifts. We show up in the world in the way that Spirit has called us to show up, and we expect that the Holy Spirit will bless us, that the gifts of God, the very grace of God, is given freely. And as we join two or more, as we come together, we create ourselves to be this vessel of receiving that grace. And we allow God's grace, we allow the Holy Spirit to stimulate us, to quicken within us, so that there is a physical healing in our bodies. That there is a healing that extends out into our relationships. That there is the natural forgiveness that mends any disagreement. That there is divine light and love and joy that is calling us into that new beginning that happens every day. That new way that we celebrate tomorrow in the same way that we celebrate this present moment right now. So I know that everything we need, whether we are moving to some new destination, whether we are experiencing a difficulty in our life, I know that the presence of God, no matter who we are or where we are, that it converges in this meeting at this time, no matter where we are listening from at this moment, that something amazing is happening. It is the vibrancy of life. It is shining from us, and it allows us to share our gifts so that we are indeed a part of making this world a better place. I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, infinite Spirit. For this is the way we tap into the Most High secret. This is the way we use the law for the benefit of all humanity and all life. And with a spirit of deep gratitude, I simply release the words of this prayer into that dynamic law that always responds positively. And together we say, and so it is.
Grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see, His love reflected shining back joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
Thank you, Bradfords. We are grateful. So now is the time to celebrate the abundance of our lives and the abundance of our communities. I want to remind you that we are not passing the offering plate, that we have drop boxes in the back of the sanctuary on the way into the food and also in the bookstore. So we appreciate any donations and gifts that you provide to us. So thank you very much. And so let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is. Right, so let's say our closing affirmation and then go eat some good food. I use my spiritual power to declare the life I want to experience. And so it is.
Yeah.